Hello, everyone. I want to thank you for joining me today. My name is AJ Kuftik, and I'm Principal Technologist with Expedient. I want to thank the VMUG and the entire UserCon community for having us. And today we're going to talk about how to accelerate your cloud journey with the Expedient Enterprise Cloud. Quick housekeeping note though, if you're new to Expedient, we were founded in 2001. We started in co-location, moved into managed services, and are now in cloud. We have cloud locations in US East, Central, and West, and international cloud deployments on customer sites in Australia, Germany, and Canada. So if our cloud locations don't work, we can bring that cloud to you, and that applies domestically as well. We're a VMware Cloud Provider and have been since 2007. We have tens of thousands of virtual machines on our platform supporting over 1,000 customers. So if you have 2 VMs or 2,000 VMs, we can support your scale. But where do we even begin? When we think about a cloud journey, we kind of have to start somewhere. You don't just get to magically start in the middle. Where do we start? Well, I want to do a quick history and kind of see how we even got to where we are today. And it really started with virtual machines. We don't need to go further past virtual machines. Really, the cloud sort of journey and phenomena started really with virtual machines. When we abstracted away our operating systems and applications from the physical platforms, we were able to provide a lot more mobility to our workloads. And right around the same time, Amazon comes out with AWS, and you really start to see public cloud take off as a viable option that customers can go take advantage of. But when they're looking at public cloud, they say, this is really great, but I'm not really ready to leave my 4 walls. Really quite happy in my data center, and I have my VMs and everything there seems pretty great. How do I do that but in my own data center? And that's where private cloud comes into play. And vendors like VMware and other various vendors came out with these various private cloud, sort of services that are built around, providing that self-service. I can click a button and get a VM or a blueprint or an API call to get resources in my own data center. The problem is that doesn't necessarily solve a real true cloud operating model where you're paying for what you're using and not paying for what you're not using. It just makes it a lot easier to consume what you have. Meanwhile, public cloud starts to kind of get more segmented. And we start to see things like IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS come along, right? Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. And software as a service is the one that really starts to take off because of things like Office 365 and Salesforce. Things that would be previously very large, almost infrastructure consuming platforms are now being offered by the vendors themselves. And that allows me to do things like eliminate all of my Exchange administration, or maybe gain some cost savings in terms of how much I pay per user. I had an Exchange license, and I had a SharePoint license, and I had Office software licensing, and all of these things kind of come together to play into, a cost per user for this platform. And Microsoft makes it super simple with Office 365. So a lot of users went that way. And that's really their first true taste of the cloud. And then they say, well, this was really great. Can I do that for other things? Can I do my websites off of that? Can I host my CDN off of that? Can I move these sorts of things that become more PaaS-related services, especially things like content delivery networks? And so at the same time, people are starting to get a little bit more comfortable with this thing. They're like, okay, this cloud thing is not so bad, actually. What if I could do both my on-prem stuff and my big cloud dreams, my public cloud dreams? What if I could do this together and I could move things across those? And that's really where hybrid cloud comes into play. The problem with hybrid cloud is that it doesn't necessarily solve any problems. You still have a lot of things that you have on premises for various reasons, right? Latency reasons, legacy reasons, whatever. And your big public cloud dreams don't necessarily match what those are. And so hybrid cloud is a neat term, but it didn't really do anything. And we start to see separation of the clouds in terms of types of clouds, right? You have hyperscale clouds like AWS and Azure and GCP, and enterprise clouds like Expedient, Rackspace, Flexential, TierPoint, who are providing these VMware-powered clouds to be able to meet the needs of customers who have these workloads that they don't necessarily want to start to rebuild. And because of this, now multi-cloud comes into play. How do I take advantage of all of these various clouds without doing anything where it's going to put me in a deep set of risk? And so you have to start to say, okay, how do I move my applications? Can I land them in containers? And can I containerize all these applications so that I can move my applications to where they need to be? But now that I've moved everything to the cloud, I need edge computing to meet my needs that are at the edge where my users are, maybe remote or branch office. And it's a lot. This is a lot that's changed in the last 10 years in terms of our technology stacks. And everybody is marketing these things, and every vendor is trying to grab onto this because there's a big, thing to solve here. People want to go do cloud things, but it's a mess right now. There's varying definitions of what any of these things may be. It might be multi-cloud, might be what some people would call hybrid cloud, or enterprise clouds, or what some people call private clouds. And it's all of these definitions, they don't really line up. And because of that, it changes the level of success that you can have, right? What is success? Is migrating all of my stuff into Office 365 the end of my cloud journey? Maybe. Or maybe it's just the start of it. Maybe moving all of my things into AWS was not a great idea, but they're all out there and they work. Is that successful? Maybe. So how do we clean up this mess that's kind of out there in terms of what is successful, what's defined as anything? I think we gotta go back to the books here. We gotta redefine our terms and what these terms actually mean. What's a cloud? A cloud, in at least our definition at Expedient, our definition of cloud is that it is a self-service portal that are defined by the amount of resources provided by a vendor, whether that's a provider, whether that's a software provider as well, that are managed by that provider that you pay for in a monthly model. And because of that, you can define a lot of things as a cloud. Office 365 is a cloud by that definition. And if you take away the fact that it's Exchange and not virtual machines, it's really hard to see a difference, in my opinion. So if that's what a cloud is, what's multi-cloud? Multi-cloud is where you're using multiple clouds to the best of their abilities. So why is everybody looking at multi-cloud right now? Why is that such a desirable function? Well, the reason is that a lot of people look at these clouds and they say, well, I want the AI and ML capabilities of Google, but I really like what Amazon's doing over here with CDNs, and I really like what Azure's doing with data lakes, and I still have all these legacy apps, and an enterprise cloud like Expedient would be really, really great for those. So how do I utilize all of these to the best of their abilities? How do I make this worth my time to actually pick up and migrate? Remember, we kind of have to fight inertia here, because it's way easier to stay where you are and not do anything, but it doesn't gain you anything either, right? And you're just digging yourself a deeper hole with technical debt. So let's take a look at a wrong way or a bad way to do this. The bad way to do this is to do what a lot of people think multi-cloud is, which is to take a single application and try to put it and run it across multiple clouds, right? And the concept here is that I am a clever designer, I'm a clever architect, I am going to design an application that never fails. And I'm going to be able to withstand an entire AWS or an entire Azure outage, and my application will still run across whatever other cloud I'd like to run it on. And that's what we like to call getting cute. You're overthinking the problem. Is AWS ever likely to go down as an entire cloud? No. There are so many things that are already designed into the platform that prevent that from happening. Now, regionally, sure, you might see a regional outage. Availability zone, you could definitely see an outage. But that doesn't mean that the entirety of AWS is down. This is the sort of thing that comes out every time after AWS or Azure or GCP has any sort of blip in their service where they say, oh, you got to use all of the clouds. You got to spread them across multiple clouds. No. What you have to do is design your application to be as resilient as possible inside of that platform. Every single one of those has multiple regions, multiple availability zones where you can avoid those problems, and you design your apps accordingly. So instead of trying to build this wildly complex application that is really down to the lowest common denominator between the three clouds, there's not a ton of benefit. You're not really gaining any sort of speed to market capabilities. You're not gaining any sort of maintenance capabilities. You're building a really simplified application that doesn't take advantage of any one of those clouds and just utilizes them as a box of resources, which isn't really the best way to utilize a cloud. And all you're doing is adding maximum complexity to this problem. It's like living in two houses, right? I have two roofs, two structures, two sets of electrical wires, two sets of plumbing, two yards, two everything. And because of that, I have to maintain all of that. I have to maintain two different roofs. That's very expensive. I have to maintain two sets of electrical wires. That's very expensive. And so because of that, you're spending a lot of money just to keep up with something that is either in one house or the other, but you can't ever utilize both of them at the same time. You have to furnish both of these houses. You have to put all of your things into place in these houses. That's two couches, two beds, two kitchens. All of these things have to be furnished. And the problem is you're not getting any real value out of that. You're not really gaining anything that's really of any sort of purpose because you can only live in one house at a time. There's only one of you. So because of that, you don't really gain the full value out of either home. You're only getting half of each. But there's a better way to do this. And the better way is to keep it super simple. And keeping it simple means I'm going to look at my application and understand what is going to be the best for my application. What is the thing that provides the most value for my application? Let's say I have a bunch of my customer data, and that customer data is, in there. I want to look at, maybe get some insights, maybe who's buying things from the Northeast, or I want to see how many people on the West Coast are buying during Eastern time versus waiting until after hours to buy things because it's more comfortable for them to buy on their time zone. How can I utilize these platforms to do that? And so maybe I want to use something like Google BigQuery to do that. I can take that application and put the whole thing into Google, and I can utilize BigQuery and the data storage that exists there to provide that function for my application because that's what I actually want. Instead of trying to say, okay, I want the big data processing from Google, but I want the CRM from Azure, and I want the storage on AWS, that's a recipe for disaster. You're going to pay egress fees to move all of that data around. You're not going to get the biggest benefit out of any of them, and you're going to spend more time chasing down latency bugs than you are actually getting value out of the application. Don't overthink it. Think of the clouds almost like they were different, hardware platforms inside of your data center. Things like, let's think about this. Maybe you're running everything on a hyperconverged platform, like, vSAN, right? All of your applications run on that. But because Oracle licensing is Oracle licensing, and I can see some smirks out there in the crowd, there's no way for you to put that onto vSAN without building a second cluster or licensing different storage or making a lot of compromises to try and fit this overall model when your Oracle database would potentially be better for you if you were running it on its own array. And you get better cost models by saying, okay, my Oracle storage needs to be super fast because I want my database queries to come back as quick as they can. But this tier 2 application that sits over here does not need all of that fast storage. It's fine to run on literally any other storage than my extremely expensive all-flash storage that I have over here. Utilize it for the best design and the best architecture. That's really the same sort of concept goes into a cloud. Utilize the best concept and the best architecture to provide the most value. Choose the right cloud for the right workload. And if we want to go back to that house analogy, it's the right place and the right use, right? Think about your house, think about your apartment. Each space has a function. I sleep in my bedroom, I make meals in my kitchen, I relax in my living room, and I bathe in my bathroom. You can bathe in your kitchen, and you can relax in your bedroom, you can sleep in your bathroom, and you can cook in your living room. But just because you can doesn't mean you should. Optimize your space usage. Optimize what you're doing with your platforms and utilize them in the best way possible and not try to shoehorn it to make it fit because that's where you want to do it at that time. And with Expedient, we can help you get there. We offer cloud assessments. You can go to our website and download a free tool that can provide you with inventory of your environment, but also can provide you some nice things like right-sizing your inventory. And then we can work with you on what workloads you have and how to actually migrate those to a cloud operating model that fits you. We have our enterprise cloud today supporting tens of thousands of virtual machines and over 1,000 customers. So we can provide you with a platform that's VMware powered so that you don't have to refactor your applications and you can move into a cloud that works for you. We also have our cloud on-ramps. Those cloud on-ramps connect you to the hyperscale providers. We're part of the Equinix Cloud Fabric, so we can provide you with 100 gig connectivity to AWS, to Azure, to GCP, and provide you with the connectivity that you're looking for versus trying to run a new circuit into your own data center or try to configure a VPN tunnel. We can help get you there faster. So why the Expedient Enterprise Cloud? What does that actually do for you? Well, you can migrate into a cloud operating model faster. A lot of times lift and shift is a sort of phrase that no one wants to use in the cloud world because many people have had issues with doing lift and shift because they didn't optimize for the cloud that they were moving to. Our cloud is based on the VMware platform. So your applications as they run on-prem today can run on our cloud tomorrow with no refactoring and run exactly the same way. We also offer no egress fees. Everything is bandwidth driven, just like your on-prem environment. So you don't have to worry about, oh, hey, this application that's out there is doing a lot of talking that I didn't realize it did, and now my bill is really high. That's happened to too many people. We can provide you with a way to avoid those and have a cloud that works for your budget and on time for you. We offer a predictable cost model. So when we provide you, we sit down with you and we work through how many resources you actually need. If you need 500 gigs of RAM and 10 terabytes of storage, great. And we provide you with that as a resource pool. And those resources are used as you see fit. You can scale up and down inside of that resource pool, but know that your guide rails are there. Know that you're not going to overrun and somebody deploys a big VM and takes you, beyond your resource pool and you're paying, you're paying beyond what you expected to pay. We've actually had customers tell us that those guardrails are actually really, really helpful, especially coming from a hyperscale world. They don't have to worry about the bill being different from month to month. They can focus on what they need, and their CFO sleeps easy at night knowing that that bill is the same every single time. We can also offer our staff, our gigantic support staff, and our delivery staff to help migrate you onto our platform and support you 24/7 going forward. But your staff can also benefit from this as well. This is a VMware-based platform, so the same capabilities that you have on-prem, creating snapshots, creating clones, power on, power off, reset, you have access to all of those things. So you can take your VMs and bring them into our platform and operate the same as you do yesterday as you would tomorrow. And as you start to move forward, now that the maintenance of the base platform is taken away and you don't have to worry about support and you know that you're going to be able to extend your support with our staff, you can start to focus on building your next applications, your next generation applications. We offer Kubernetes support through our partners at Rancher. So we have full multi-cloud management of Kubernetes platforms so you can start to build your next generation applications right next to your current ones. And we have a fully functional REST API. You can go to api.docs.expedient.cloud and you can bring that in, show your developers, hey, look, here's this API. You can go deploy your own VMs. Hooray. Or you can start to learn APIs yourself. All of that is well documented. You can bring it into Postman and start building things with APIs. We also offer Terraform and Ansible support so you can start to take your playbooks and apply them to a cloud that works with you. So what's this cloud made of? Well, it starts at the bottom with our vSphere platform. It's the same vSphere platform that you're running on-prem, and that allows you to bring those applications over, not have to refactor them, and you can move in day one. From a storage standpoint, we offer our vSAN storage platform. This allows us to scale our platform to meet your needs, but also we can make sure that you have full all-flash storage, fully encrypted at rest, so you can make sure that your applications are performant, but also secure at the same time. With networking, we use NSX, and that allows us to do some really neat things, especially between our data centers. We can do things like stretch layer 2 across them. So as part of our disaster recovery as a service, we can do things like bring your applications from one data center to another without having to re-IP, which means your DR gets up and running faster. We also have full access to the distributed firewall, so you have the ability to go in and create your own rules and manage those, along with having full support from our operations support center that allows you to know that you have the peace of mind that when you make a firewall rule change, that if something goes wrong, you can get in there and fix it. We are a multi-tenant platform, and so we use VMware's Cloud Director that allows you to pull in all of these tenants that we use, and each tenant gets their own view. They see their VMs and allow them to go through and see each of them and make sure that they can manage all of them the same way that they manage them on-prem today. Full console access, full power access, full clone, snapshot creation and template access, so you can do all of the things that you need to do today. You can even bring your existing templates in and land them. So if you have a Windows image, a Red Hat image that you happen to like, you can export that to an OVA and import that into Cloud Director and start using those templates. So you don't have to try and harden a different image that we're providing to you. You can bring your own out of the gate. We also have a number of data protection capabilities. So we've partnered with Zerto and Cohesity along with VMware to provide DR as a service and data protection services that can help make sure that not only do you have a place for your workloads to live, but that your workloads can be protected going forward. Zerto powers our push-button DR platform that allows you to do failover between our two data centers in the fastest way possible, right? Our RPO can be down in the seconds with Zerto. And so we can bring you back up and running in 15 minutes or less with that platform. We also offer VMware Cloud Director availability, which is a really neat tool that allows us to connect your on-premises vCenter to our vCloud Director, and that allows you to do replication of either migrations or use it for disaster recovery so that you can fail over into our data centers and use us as a second data center so you can avoid the costs associated with owning and maintaining your own second data center. And Cohesity is our backup as a service platform. They have a really, really strong platform that does Google-like restores, and you only pay per terabyte used. So that allows you to get really, really granular. You don't have to worry about overhead. You can just pay for what you're using. And all of those can be replicated between our data centers so you can have the knowledge that once your workloads are in our data center, that they're protected along the way. Cohesity and Zerto were also used by one of our customers to recover from a ransomware attack in 48 hours. 30 hours of that were all forensics. So it took us about 18 hours to get them from absolutely nothing to back up and running. It was a very, very powerful story, and I highly recommend going to our YouTube page and hearing more about that. To ensure optimal uptime, we have Vrealize Operations and Log Insight to provide us with insight into the environment around logging and around our operations and how to actually see what's going on in the environment. You have access to Vrealize Operations with every single VM you have. It is not an add-on. It's part of the platform. And finally, as you want to go build your new cloud-native environment, your new cloud-native applications, we've partnered with Rancher. Rancher is a Kubernetes management platform that provides us with a number of capabilities around authentication and image management, along with multi-cloud management to handle Amazon EKS, Azure AKS, and Google GKE, so you can manage your container workloads wherever that may be, in our data center, on your premises, or even in a hyperscale cloud, which is a really, really powerful way to take advantage of all of these various clouds. We also provide Portworx persistent storage, so we recognize that not all cloud-native applications are stateless, right? They have stateful data. So we've partnered with Portworx that allows us to do things like be able to provide you with support to provide persistent storage for maybe a database inside of a container. So you can do those sorts of things and manage that storage yourself and add those in as part of your YAML files and get that out of the gate and provide your developers with the ability to deploy their own infrastructure. And finally, the Elastic Stack for observability. So we have them for logging, dashboards, and even their antivirus products. So we can take and go end to end with your infrastructure. But to accelerate your cloud journey, it kind of involves you. And one of the challenges that we run into is that a lot of our customers just don't have time. And so what we wanted to do was provide you with time to actually focus on what the business actually needs to meet the needs that they're trying to hit with their customers. And so by taking on your current applications, maybe physical workloads with our colocation space or cloud native, We can give you that time, eliminate all that maintenance, all that patching time that you're spending, all the design time that you spend trying to just make sure that you're keeping up with the latest technology trends. You can send that over to us and you can have that time back so you can focus on that new development, big data, AI, machine learning that the business wants so they can keep up with what's happening in the industry so that they can keep up with their customers and meet their customers where they are. Right? This is really why we do what we do. We want to focus on the big picture. We want to focus on the big business projects that have an actual impact to the bottom line and not on keeping the lights on. Let us keep your lights on. So where do we do this? Well, inside of the US, we have 12 different data centers from Boston to Phoenix. We have Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Columbus, Baltimore, Boston, Indianapolis, Memphis, and Phoenix. All of those have our data centers out. We own those and operate those. So we are able to provide different colo spaces, different cages, along with all of our cloud products that allow you to bring your infrastructure in totality end to end. But if you want to connect to those hyperscale clouds, we have direct connectivity to the Equinix Cloud Fabric. So we can go to Cleveland, Chicago, San Jose, Ashburn, and Baltimore, and we can actually get you connected faster so that you can get on board to those clouds and start to focus on those sorts of pieces without having to worry about latency and how am I going to get my connectivity in there and VPN tunnels and all of that. Your cloud journey with Expedient can start even as simple as colocation. Right? We are still a colo provider at heart. And so what that allows us to do is bring in things like physical hardware. We recognize that not everything is virtual. Not everything is in a nice, easy to pick up and move container. Sometimes it's big and heavy and made of metal. And so that's what our data centers are for. You can land your physical assets in our data center. You can connect those directly to our enterprise cloud. So as you bring your VMs over, there's no egress fees, there's no jumping around. You're on the same network so you can talk directly from your legacy apps to your current apps. And as you build your modern applications going forward with cloud native, that sits directly on top of our enterprise cloud as well. So when is enterprise cloud the best fit? If your application existed 2 years ago or is in your data center today, it's probably a pretty great fit. And a lot of times people want to modernize or refactor their apps to go to a hyperscale cloud. And that's a really, really great idea. But not everything has a ton of value in doing that, right? If you have this application that brings in $10,000 in revenue, but it costs $100,000 to refactor, it's going to take you 10 years to get that back. That's a lot of time. So we have a really great place to land those applications and give you the cloud operating model without having to go through all the refactoring. But if you have to interact with physical systems, mainframe, iSeries, security stacks, database servers, being able to connect those directly makes this a whole lot easier. So if this interests you, please give our Enterprise Cloud a test drive. You can reach out to me, aj.kuftik@expedient.com, or go to expedient.com/VMware-test-drive and sign up for a free 30-day trial. You get 128 gigs of RAM, a terabyte of storage, and full portal access to our environment. And so you can get started and see what an Enterprise Cloud can do for you. And with that, I will turn it over to the rest of your day. I really appreciate all of your time. Thanks for joining us.